Oh, we lost Pamela.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.
Welcome. It is Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire. This is the Concord Co-op Community Connections. Joining us today, as always, the very dapper Greg Lessard from the Concord Food Co-op. Good afternoon, Greg.
Good afternoon, Nazzy. Good to hear your voice and see you again.
You as well. And also joining us today, we've got Dr. Herring. She's a licensed naturopathic doctor, specializes in classical I'm going to say this wrong. Help me out, doctor. Homeopathy. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Yes. And functional medicines. Also joining us, we've got Abigail McShinsky. She's an herbalist and a writer who lives very close. She lives in Franklin, serves as an education manager at Megafood, the local company that internationally crafts high-quality supplements with special ingredients, and they're sourced from trusted partners. Welcome, Abigail.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Thank you all for being here. So, Greg, today a very important subject, something that I'm very interested in, supplement essentials.
I have quite a few questions about supplemental essentials, and I'm just going to kick it off with is supplement essentials a constant throughout the year, or are we changing the supplements throughout the year depending on the weather, the lack of sun, et cetera? So just wanted to, that was my initial question anyway.
All right, let's start with Dr. Herring.
Well, that's a good question, Greg. And I would say that supplemental levels might vary according to season, according to what's going around, according to somebody's individual dietary differences from winter to summer and so on. So there's lots of reasons why it would vary.
All right, and move on to Abigail. Same question.
I would say there's definitely things that we can keep consistent to do year round, like a daily multivitamin is something that I talk a lot about and really believe in strongly. It helps us fill in the gaps in our diet. You know, food is always first year round, but in the winter, fresh food might be harder to come by, making that daily multivitamin all the more important. But to Dr. Herring's point, our specific, diets and lifestyles play a role, but also just the nature of the seasons. In the winter, we're experiencing less sunshine and being outdoors less. And so naturally, we're going to be producing less vitamin D3. So especially where we are in northern New England, it's pretty common to see a lot of folks needing a little bit more supplemental vitamin D3 to help get us through these winter months before the sun's, shining again in summer.
Right now, I want to back up just for a moment here for anybody that's just tuning in right now. What exactly is a supplement? I mean, it's the broken down form of food, correct? Am I incorrect to assume that? Let's start with Dr. Herring.
Yes, I would say that's pretty accurate. It's taking apart the food nutrients and giving them in isolation. It's always best to get them in the food, of course.
Right.
But a lot of reasons why we don't. We can go into that. But yes, it is a part of the whole.
Yeah, and I see Abigail nodding her head. So
absolutely.
I guess I'm correct, right? It's part of the food.
Yeah, vitamins, minerals, but supplements can also be botanicals, herbs, and then things that we'd, consider nutraceuticals. So things you can find in food, but less common than vitamins and minerals, things like antioxidants that we might be aware of, but not necessarily know where to get them from.
Now, to Dr. Herring's point, is it more beneficial to the body to get the source, to get the protein or the vitamin or the mineral from the source?
Always. Absolutely. And that's something we say at Megafood all the time, food first. But those who aren't familiar with Megafood as a company, kind of hidden there in our name, we're all about food. And so we include it in our actual formulations because we believe so strongly that you really need whole foods to get the most out of nutrition. That's how our bodies were designed to, work.
Right.
Now, I always use myself as an example because, there's the Concord Food Co-op, the shoppers at the co-op are very in tuned for the most part of, what's in their food and what they're looking for a balanced diet, et cetera. I'm not quite the typical shopper at the co-op. So somebody like me that needs a better understanding of, what is it that I would be missing from time to time, or how would I even assess what I would be missing? Dr. Herring, you said, it can change, but how would I know what that change is and what should be doing differently?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we have naturopaths and we have nutritionists like Abigail, is so that they can help you with that assessment. By doing a diet diary, sometimes we can see glaring nutrients that are missing from the diet. I always ask if people are getting essential fatty acids from fish. If they don't like fish, then we got to figure out a way for them to get them from another source. So we can tell a lot just by looking at the diet and also doing history. Way back in the 70s, my mother was an avid fan of Adele Davis. You may have heard that name. She was one of the first people that really made nutrition a kind of a household word. Mm-hmm. And so I was in my early 20s and started reading those books, and I was absolutely blown away by what she had to say about nutrients and how they actually affect our sense of well-being or not. And so I became very interested in, supplementation from that angle and how to actually assess. Now, Chinese medicine has ways of actually looking at your face and seeing certain features and lines and colorations that will tell them exactly what nutrients are missing. Or they'll look in the eye, or, there's other parts of the body that are a reflection of different organs and how they're functioning.
I have a question, kind of a follow-up to that. Does our body's need for different nutrients change? I mean, I know it changes as we get older, but does it change like if we're under stress? Does it change if we're working out more or less? Are there other things that can affect the change? I see both of you, Abigail, both nodding your heads yes. So what is it with that? Things change, right?
They absolutely change. Exercise was one point you made, especially women, but men too. If you're training for a marathon, you're exercising very vigorously, we're going to want to look at minerals like magnesium, potassium, but we're also going to want to pay close attention to your iron stores. That's something that can be depleted through exercise. Speaking of iron, if you donate blood, that's an amazing thing to do, but you're depleting your own iron stores. So it's recommended you might want to consider an iron supplement after things like that. And then there's also just genetic concerns too. There's the lifestyle factors, but there's also, right. Women are going to be naturally more predisposed for iron deficiency. Race can play a factor into this, gender, all of age, all of these can play a role into how our nutrition kind of changes throughout our life cycle.
Dr. Herring, would you add to that?
I could add a few things to that. There are certain habits that we have that can deplete nutrients, such as over-consuming alcohol, which can deplete vitamins B and vitamin C. Stress, as Abigail mentioned, is a huge one, which pulls on your B vitamins and your C's as well. Exposure to pollutants. If you work in an industry where there's a lot of pollution, then and toxins, then you have to be aware of that and find ways to eliminate those through, say, herbals and nutrients. So those are just a few examples. Allergies, infections, those things require more nutrients than you can actually get in your food. Plus, I just want to make the point that studies have shown that 90% of people don't get the recommended amounts of daily vitamins. So
that's true.
Just because our food supply is so compromised now with poor soil, with transportation, with processing of foods and so on, we really are struggling to get nutrients from our food.
Do you find that individuals have symptoms that they are not connecting to a lack of nutrients, more common ones that they just don't understand, that they really could use some type of a supplement for that?
Absolutely.
What would those be?
Well, all of the things I just mentioned, most people wouldn't think of, if they're consuming a lot of alcohol, they wouldn't stop to think, oh, I'm depleting my vitamin B. And
wait a minute, I'm having too much fun at the bar. All my vitamin B is getting out of my body. No, that's
or they're really stressed. That might be the last thing they're thinking about is,
right.
what nutrients they're getting in their diet. They're worrying about this and that and the other thing.
And I'd just like to make a point of how difficult, we're saying food first, but how challenging it really can be to get everything from diet. I have a couple examples of, magnesium is a really great mineral. It's helpful for muscle relaxation and muscle tension and nervous system function. And you want to get around 400 milligrams a day. And we think of leafy greens as a really rich source of magnesium, but you need to eat 2.5 cups of spinach or 2.5 cups of Swiss chard to get that minimum amount of magnesium because of how our produce is grown nowadays. So eating a varied diet and introducing lots of different foods is going to go a long way. To your question about can you feel these deficiencies, you absolutely can. Things like iron can result in fatigue. I mentioned magnesium again with muscle tension. That's something people can feel with maybe jumpy legs, but we don't want to get to those points, and that's where I keep pounding on the importance of a multivitamin to help us fill those gaps so we don't reach a point where we're feeling those deficiencies.
All right. So now you mentioned vitamin, you mentioned multivitamin. I remember when I was young, I used to take my Flintstone vitamins and they tasted really good. So sometimes I'd pop 2 or 3 and my parents were like, no, you're going to get sick. It's going to hurt you. Is there any truth to that? What happens if you take too much of a supplement or too much of a vitamin?
Well, that's a good question, too. There definitely is a problem with taking too much of a synthetic vitamin. I'm a big proponent of, natural vitamins. Megafood is a good example of one where they incorporate food. It's a food-backed product.
Yep.
But Flintstones is, I don't want to pick on one brand, but
they were good.
There have been cases of toxicity from taking a synthetic vitamin like that. A child would get into it and just be eating them like candy and would end up in the hospital. So.
Oh, no, I never made it that far.
Well, 3 isn't going to do it. But
I go for 3 and my parents are like, no, it's going to make you sick. Now, Abigail, I see you nodding your head. Anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, it can absolutely happen. And that's why when people start to combine supplements, you're taking your daily multi, but you think maybe some B vitamins or maybe I need additional D3. I'm always a proponent of working with your doctor and just paying attention to what we refer to as tolerable upper limits. There's a threshold that we have established for every vitamin and mineral. And we know its safety and when it's going to cause something to go wrong or stomach upset. So just making sure you're not combining too much of a good thing and working with your doctor or someone like Dr. Herring can be really helpful in making sure you're just not crossing that boundary.
Yeah.
And Abigail, are all multivitamins, created equal? Are they, or what is it that you would want to avoid in a multivitamin to make sure that you're not just grabbing one off the shelf and saying, okay, I'm covered, I've got a multi?
Well, I think there's definitely a hierarchy to the supplements that are out there and even within Megafood ourselves. But I really believe that the best multi for an individual is the one they're going to take consistently. So my best recommendation would be, to continue using Megafood as an example. We have doctor formulated multis. You get 2 a day. They've got the most up-to-date nutrient potencies. They've got choline, which is a really important, sexy nutrient that we want in there for brain health. But 2 a day might not be feasible for everyone, or you might have difficulty swallowing tablets. So in that instance, I'd rather you take a gummy or a chewable than take nothing and miss out filling in on those gaps. So it comes down to really being honest with your lifestyle and what you're going to be able to, do every single day.
And I know they have different vitamins. They have men vitamins. They have women vitamins. They have senior, which they call silver vitamins. And they've got different things in them for different stages of your life and different genders. And I think it's great. But as you said, Abigail, you definitely want to work with your doctor. You want to make sure you're taking the right multivitamin for yourself, for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's important to use those, ages and genders as guideposts. They're typically formulated for women, for instance, with menstruation in mind. As we age and our menstruation decreases, we reach menopause. We don't need iron in the same way, but for men, we might want to increase iodine support for prostate health and things of that nature. So using those as guideposts is just a good way to go if you're new to supplementation, for sure.
Yeah. But it goes back to talking to your doctor. Make sure you speak with a professional.
Yep.
Speak to Dr. Herring. You want to make sure you've got a trained professional who's putting you on the right supplement.
And it can be maybe I'm a little geeky about this. It would make sense given what I do for work, but I think it's a little fun. You can test your levels and then you can, work on it and increase foods in the diet that contain iron and take a supplement and test it again in a few months and see that progress, which, we can't always say about everything we try to implement to make ourselves more healthy. So I think it's a neat way to do that.
Hey, agreed.
And what's the testing process that you're referring to?
I'd love to hear Dr. Herring's take on this, but there's a lot of different opportunities. With naturopaths, we often look at saliva tests or blood spot tests, but with your traditional MD, they may be simply doing a blood draw from the arm.
Yeah, you can do a blood draw. That's a complete nutrient analysis that will give there's around 70 different essential nutrients that we need in our diet, but so it will outline how much, you have of each one. I've done that kind of analysis on myself and with patients sometimes. They're quite pricey, so I don't just do that routinely. I try to narrow it down to ones that are actually showing up in their health picture. I also wanted to just mention that I do think there's value in using distributors that really have a stake in keeping a customer. So they'll do like I use a distribution service where they have thousands of nutrients supplements and they test them. They actually will test those companies to make sure that what's on the label is in the product, because there is no real FDA oversight of the supplement industry.
Right.
And so you can have a supplement that has a great looking label and is 50% of what's on that label in there, or even less.
Yeah, gotta do that. Ladies, in the short amount of time we have left, Dr. Herring, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, if they'd like to book an appointment, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do that is to contact me by email or text or phone, and those are on my website.
Yep.
So
drpamelanh.com. Yep.
Right.
Get in touch with you. Abigail, same question. If somebody wants to sit and chat with you and get some great information on Megafoods and different supplements, what's the best way to reach you?
Same here. Our website's going to be the best resource. We have live chat available, a contact us form, and a great team responding to those. So if there's a general question, they'll take care of you. If you want to get in touch with me specifically, they will make that happen.
Excellent. Some great information today, ladies. Thank you very much. All right. And Greg, we got to talk about it. There's a big show coming up very, very soon. A big talent show. Tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yeah, I think we all need to supplement our lives now with a little bit of fun. And that is the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness talent show that's coming up May 1st. And you can buy tickets. It's at the Bank of New Hampshire stage. Tickets are $35. Limited seating. There's only going to be 100 seats this year. Or you can watch it live streamed. And you can watch it live streamed on Concord TV, Channel 22, or go right to the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness website. It will be live streamed for free. The show is at from 7 to 8, and the pre-show starts at 6:30. There's 8 great acts. It's just going to be an awesome show. Local celebrities are in the show, and local celebrities are judging. But we all get to buy a vote and vote for our favorite act that evening as well. And that'll be the button to do buy a vote is right on concordhomeless.org website.
Now, Greg, I think we all want to know this year if you're going to be doing your famous plate spinning act on stage. Are you going to be doing that at all this year, Greg?
In practice, I broke most of the plates in our house, so I won't be up on the stage this year, unfortunately. But I'm working on my unicycle act, and so maybe you'll still see me up there. But no, truly, there's just wonderful acts again. I would not miss it. It's for free, but it's a fundraiser. So if you're watching it, we give you the opportunity to make us a donation for the coalition. They've currently raised $32,000 through sponsorship. We're trying to get through 40 by donations the night of the show.
That's going to be amazing. And you know what? We need, not just to help the coalition, but we as a society need a night out. We need some fun like this. So it's so vital on so many different levels.
Yeah, May 1st. Mark your calendars. May 1st. Pre-show starts at 6:30.
Excellent. Listen, Dr. Pamela Herring, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And Abigail, thank you very much.
Pleasure as always.
And Greg, keep practicing that unicycle. Before you know it, you'll be down to 2 wheels. We know he's at 4 right now.
Yeah.
Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all. Bye now.
If you're in the mood for real food, it's Concord Food Co-op.